Get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, it's time for the VooDoo Chef Podcast, where we will discuss all things voodoo from the VooDoo Studios located right here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. So to all my booties out there, if you're looking for nothing but a good time, this is the place to be. Call your friends, knock on the neighbor's door, and let them know it's time to party like a rock star for the next hour. Join me and my guests and learn to voodoo like we do as we discuss our faves and the voodoo that we use. I'll put our guests on the spot as we ask for their top 3, and make sure and listen as we discuss some of our favorite war stories from the kitchens we've worked in. Sit back, grab a tall glass of your favorite libation, and enjoy this episode of the VooDoo Chef Podcast.
What's going on, Voodies? We got an awesome podcast tonight, and you got to look at it. Big Eddie C to start it out. Know I'm a coffee maniac. Tonight it's a Venti 3 raw sugar ice latte. That's the drink choice because tonight we've got Jodi, Stanley in the room. We all know you surround yourself with those who are in the know. That's why I hang out with Big Eddie C. Remember, he's the smart guy in the group.
Bullshit.
Jodi is my go-to resident coffee expert, and we'll get to her in a minute. There may or may not be some Jack Daniels in my Venti 3 raw sugar ice latte. I actually discovered that on the Johnny B show. I would head in there with the Venti 3 raw sugar ice latte, and I would drink the damn thing so fast I'd refill it with my Jack Daniels. And let me tell you, it's a fucking pretty awesome drink. Let's talk about voodoo real quick. The next thing first of all, we've got the brand new website up, VooDooChef.com. Make sure you log in, check that out. Tell you what, let's throw a coupon code out there for the weekend. Anybody listen to the podcast? Let's drop 20% off for anybody listening to the podcast this weekend. Jump on VooDooChef.com. Anything you purchase will be 20% off. Use the coupon code COFFEE. That's this week's podcast topic, coffee. Use that coupon code. We'll get you 20% off. And don't forget, any orders over $50 are free shipping. Check that out. We're starting to put recipes up on the website. So you're going to start seeing those pop up. Get in there, check it out, dig around, do a deep dive. Don't forget the VooDoo Chef Foundation, November 7th at the Eagles. Right here in Tampa, Florida, we've got the VooDoo Chef Day of the Dead golf tournament. It's going to be a great, great day. The game we love to hate. Lots of food, lots of drink, lots of swearing at that damn little white ball. And it's going to be a great day. And this year, we've got a 8:30 shotgun start, something like that. Don't quote me on that. They just tell me when to show up, prop me up beside the jukebox. That Joe Diffie kind of thing. I was getting ready for tonight, and I got my bandana on, and I put my I'm looking at my hair, and it's getting really long. I'm like, what's with the Mike Reno thing, right?
Oh, yeah. If you had the red bandana, it'd be you. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wonder what he looks like now. I'm thinking Scotty Evil when he turned evil at the end of the movie.
Well,
I think that would be Mike Reno now.
If you look at any footage of them when they played gigs, he looks almost the same, except he's a little heavier. Isn't everybody? And his teeth are still crooked. That's it. But good for them, man. People freak out about people playing gigs when they're past their prime. Fuck it. You've earned the right to.
I was listening to Michael Sweet from Stryper. He said, we always tune to E flat, and that's what allows us, to maybe hit some of the notes that others, they think they're really high, but we tune down. He goes, and I got to be honest, I'm kind of getting to the point where we might have to tune down to D. But hey, like you said, they're still out playing. They're still out doing their thing. That's what it's all about. Let's jump into this coffee here, Big Eddie C. I was doing my research, and like I said, I surround myself with people who are way smarter than I am. And so I was trying to trace this coffee thing back, and I found some interesting stories, kind of like we do with everything. If we don't really know the answer, we bullshit it. So I found 3 great bullshit stories about the origins of coffee. One states that a Sufi mystic noticed the energizing effects of birds after they were eating the berry. And upon trying the berry himself, he experienced the same vitality. And that's what first spawned the coffee. Another has a mystic known to cure through prayer, exiled to the desert. Starving in the desert, he chewed the berries from the shrubs. They were bitter, so he tried roasting them. When he roasted them, they were too hard. So he boiled them to soften them, and here's the first coffee ever made. He drank the brown fragrant liquid. He drank the brown fragrant liquid and sustained for several more days. As Story got back to the city he was exiled from, it brought him back to find out what was so amazing, and he was made a saint because of his ability to sustain. Last one I found, a goat herder noticed that when his flock ate the berries from the shrub, they became exhilarated. He chewed on the fruit himself and felt the exhilaration, which prompted him to bring it to a nearby ministry. The monks disapproved and threw them in the fire. The aroma prompted them to reevaluate. They took the beans, ground them up, soaked them, and the first cup of coffee was created. Either
I'm going
way,
with that one.
Either way, it all goes. Yeah, exactly. Which one do you pick? A, B, or C?
I've always heard the last one. It was supposedly a happy accident. An Ethiopian goat farmer noticed his goats were munching them, and they'd start jumping around and acting ridiculous. You know, you probably never saw the movie. They're like Black Phillip and the Witch, you know, where it just jump side to side and just do naughty shit. So it's a lot like where they think barbecue came from.
Absolutely.
There was a fire. A man walked through there, probably smelled something cooking, some animal that got caught in there, and they had no social graces, so they grabbed some, couldn't resist it, ate it, rest is history.
Rest is history. That last story actually traced back to the 9th century. The other ones didn't trace back as far. So, you know, I'll go with C as well. It does trace back to Ethiopia, and it started, it was kind of a spiritual intoxication, and it started creating these coffee houses eventually. It was forbidden for a short period of time. It's dubbed as being the bitter invention of Satan. That might be why we drink it every day.
Oh, I definitely go with that.
It actually had to have the papal approval, and Pope Clement VIII actually gave it the blessing for it to be okay. Probably what most people, you know, may or may not know, I don't know, what the fuck. Coffee, until 1773, was not the #1 drink in America. Coffee is the #1 drink in America. The rest of the world, it's something else. Do you know what the other something else is, Ed?
Life?
What is the rest of, what's the #1 drink in the rest in the world?
Well, if it ain't water, I'd say vodka.
Well, it is Tito's vodka.
Yes.
Actually, you know, water, I'm assuming, wasn't on the list because it's, you know, naturally formed, whatever, I don't know. #1 drink in the world is tea, except for here in the United States. Here in the United States, ever since 1773, and we decided to fight that tea tax and throw all the tea into Boston Harbor, and Jefferson proclaimed coffee our new beverage. Coffee is the #1 beverage in the United States, and it still is today. I drink, as I know you do, so much coffee. I should probably quit, but I don't know that I could stand dealing with the headaches, because you take that caffeine away, you got to fight through that withdrawal stage.
I did that. What did I do? I don't know when I did it. I think it might have been either sometime, it was in high school maybe, or college. I got off caffeine, and the only way you can get past the headaches and just the constant pissiness is you got to be taking some Tylenol or some ibuprofen. That's the only way. And
suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, but then that just fucks up your liver even worse. So it's not worth it.
Marie bought decaf and tried to half-calf me off.
Oh.
And it lasted for about 4 days. And I'm like, what the fuck did you do to the coffee? And she goes, you can really tell? I'm like, yeah, it's not, I'm not good. I'm not right. We go through a pot of coffee before I leave the house between the two of us. Then when I get to work, H and I go through another pot. And it's the last thing I have before I go to bed too.
Really?
Yep.
That's it for me. I only have my one in the morning. I have the one, it's like a 16 or a 20 ounce one, and then I'm done. That's it. After that, I switch to either tea or water. Same in the evening, maybe a beer. This lockdown it's really pissing me off because it's dulled my desire for beer. And that's the part about it. It's really starting to fucking piss me off.
Come on, homie. We got to get past that.
Yeah, that's just what's bothering the shit out of me, man. I used to have a couple every night and just enjoy it. Not anymore. Maybe every other night.
Remember the COVID rules. 10 a.m. is acceptable.
Oh, yeah. It's
unless you need it earlier, then you could drink it earlier.
I'll start as soon as noon because it's 5 o'clock in England at that point.
No,
so.
dude. Just if your eyes are open, Lois Plagg used to tell me I only drink when it's sunny outside or the moon's in the air.
That's pretty awesome. I wouldn't have expected that from her, but that's even better.
Lois was a trip, man. Hey, we gotta get Jodi in here, and we're gonna talk some coffee. And I think, as we talk coffee, I think you might find yourself a little more. Jodi and I go way back. Jodi was working for a local coffee company here in Tampa, and I don't remember how we met. We're gonna have to revisit that. But Jodi and I actually started through my desire to just learn more about coffee, and she eventually started coming into the classroom and taking over the coffee area and teaching all our kids coffee. And I just sit there and watch in amazement because I just love Satan's liquid, as we stated earlier before you jumped on air. Jodi, Stanley, how are you, friend? It's been a long time.
Yes, it has. I was having some audio difficulties. So I didn't hear, I could see you talking, but I didn't hear a word that you said. So I apologize.
We weren't saying super nice things about
it.
But
that's okay.
No, we were just giving them the rundown. You and I met, you were working for a local coffee company here.
Uh-huh.
And I think we met through my Cheney Brothers sales rep because they just sell shitty coffee and I need good coffee. And so they connected me with you.
That is correct. Yes.
That's what it came back. Yeah. I don't remember the details, but as soon as I saw you, it all came back. Cheney Brothers had nothing but shit coffee. And so they said, well, you're going to have to talk to Jodi. And the rest is a long time ago.
Probably about 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so we connected and we tried a couple different things. I wanted a VooDoo coffee. We wanted coffee at the school. We did a couple different things. But most importantly, you took me down and taught me the processes of coffee. And, it's just not some shit that you put in a machine and push a button and say, go, like restaurateurs, most of us know. And so I want to go through that and I want to talk about that. I want to talk bean to cup because, I didn't talk like that until I met you. And why are you giggling?
It's because it's just what I do, right? So bean to cup is one of the most important components of it.
So
you know.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about first, coffee only grows in certain areas.
Correct.
And I always go to my favorite coffee. What's my favorite coffee, Jodi?
Guatemala Antigua.
Guatemala Antigua. And I'm sitting there, it grows on the side of the mountains in Guatemala, and the higher up you go, the better it is. But let's talk about that. So we've got the different grades of coffee, and we've got the different fancy names. Just give us a quick lesson.
On where it's grown, how it's picked.
Sure.
There's no quick start to bean to cup.
So 5-minute bean, 2-minute bean to cup, go. Because I want to play and have fun.
2-minute bean to cup.
Yep.
Nothing's better than Arabica beans. Nothing's better than coffee grown on the mountainside in Guatemala, because you get the best. Coffee is an incandescent, whether it's on the tree or in the cup or in your pantry. So it absorbs what's around it. So in Guatemala, the reason why you and I love it so much is because it's smooth. There's no acid. There's no pungent aftertaste. It just lays in your mouth. Kind of like good wine. Guatemala Antigua is the best region for growing coffee.
It is the best coffee.
Yes. So on the left side of that, you have Costa Rica, which is very acidic because of how they process it. And then on the right side of that, you have the Indonesian coffees or the Asia Pacific coffees, which are very dark, deep, earthy because of how they process it and where it's grown. So it really has everything to do with what's around it and who picks it and how they process it and what love they put into it when they get it back to the farm. And that's a whole nother conversation.
So when we get it back to the farm, we actually wash it and dry it, right? And
in Latin America, yes.
And they do that differently than they do on the other side of the Atlantic.
Correct. Yes.
And those processes actually play into why I like coffees on this side of the world better too. So what is that difference? On the other side, aren't they drying it like out in the sun on the?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
No point.
There are certain parts of Africa that dry theirs in the sun, in the bean, in the cherry. Mm-hmm. So that would be like a sun-dried Ethiopian Sidamo or
right there.
Kenya. What?
That's Ed's favorite.
Erik and I have had this conversation. I prefer the African ones. I prefer that earthiness, which I'm sure, again, it's like wine.
Different earthy flavor.
Yes. Yes.
It has to do with the rain. It has to do with the soil. It has to do with the altitude, all those environmental factors. But
right.
He says he thinks that coffee tastes like feet. So
but there are certain parts of Africa that produce fantastic coffee because they're in the middle of blueberry farms and lemon orchards and things of that nature. And the coffee actually absorbs all of those aromas and flavors.
And I remember the day you introduced me to this. You brought me African coffee, and I said, I'm not drinking this shit. And you said, yes, you are, and you're going to make it how I tell you. And you told me, take the coffee filter, get my butcher twine, tie it up like a tea bag, throw it in a couple gallons of water, and let it sit for 48 hours. And it was the best cold brew coffee I ever had. Those citrus notes came out, little to no acid, and it was amazing. And I still do that today. And I still teach people that today, just like you taught me, and it's amazing. But
there's nothing better than an iced African coffee. Nothing better.
Never had it. I'm gonna have to try now.
Except for some Guatemalan Antigua, any way you take it.
Well, that's true.
But it's like I think Ed was talking about the terroir, like in wine. The African thing just doesn't do anything for me. I don't.
Right.
It's just not the flavor profile I like. I remember saying, Jodi, is it wrong for me to describe the coffee I like as having a muddy, earthy flavor? And you said, no, because that's pretty much what it is. And that's what I like. That's what I like. And
everybody's palate is different. It's so relative to how people taste wine, how people drink wine. You pair certain foods with certain coffees. I mean, I have a whole repertoire of regular foods that, yes, when you go into a coffee store, they pair that cinnamon coffee cake with that coffee. However, there are real foods that can be paired with certain coffees, dinner coffees, dessert coffees, iced coffees to go with chocolate covered cherries. I mean, there's just, it's all relative to what you do every day. And I think that's why you and I connect so well, is our brains work the same way.
I am so frustrated that you're not here in Tampa anymore. And those of
6
you
months.
on the left.
6 months.
Legit?
Legit. I'll be back in 6 months. This is a 2-year deal. What's that?
Are you coming back to your old place?
I don't know where I'm coming back to, but 2 years.
Back to
old place or not, I'm back home in 2 years, in 6 months.
Nice. Don't suffer.
I need to be with my family. That's what's most important to me, as you know.
That's most important to everybody. If it's not, you're an asshole. Well, you do know this is the Voodoo Chef podcast, right? You knew you weren't signing up for Tom Hanks' hour, right?
No.
Even though I thought he was on Epstein's flight list. I'm just saying. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It's okay. I've heard worse out of your mouth, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. So Jodi, we get it washed, we get it dried, and then we do the roast process. I actually had somebody tell me the other day, did you know the longer you roast it, the less caffeine it has? I go, yeah, my girl Jodi taught me that a long time ago. But
it's so minuscule. That urban legend, I can't believe. I mean, I've been doing coffee for, I'm not going to tell you how many years because I'm not going to age myself.
At least 4.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with that.
Well, we can say
so minuscule
because we met in 08-ish.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think you were in 6th grade.
It's just a minuscule amount. You can't, I mean, you could trace it. It's just so that urban legend is, it's funny how people, how they hear things and then they elaborate and they add 10 things or take away 2 and it changes the whole dynamic of what you're talking about.
I don't even know how to explain it because, Ed and I talk about these stupid fucks all the time. And I'm not saying that some lady's a stupid fuck, but, you hear the littlest thing and by the time, it's like the old telephone game. By the time you get going, if you roast it dark enough, there's no fucking caffeine at all. People are, is what it is. What's your favorite roasted coffee? And then I'm going to start asking about the mermaid, if I'm allowed to.
Of course.
Okay.
My everyday go-to is Sumatra, whether it's aged or not, whether it's in a coffee pot or a French press. That's just my go-to coffee. It's smooth.
With a French press.
I did.
I just don't have patience for that.
Exactly. So Sumatra, Indonesian coffees are where my palate lies. And I think I told you once that it doesn't matter what coffee you prefer. What matters is that you can describe it to other people. And your palate lies in Guatemala, smooth, no acid, smooth as velvet. There are people out there that actually prefer Costa Rican coffee, which in my opinion is acidic as hell, and I don't like it. But
I can drink Costa Rican too.
I can't. It's just not where my palate lies. But I'm also a diehard red wine drinker. So it really, how you associate to wine is very, very similar how you associate to coffee. They're very, very much alike.
So I drink brown wine from Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
So how does that line
I'm
up?
aware. I haven't experimented with that, so that's next on my bucket list.
Okay, so let's see if you can tell me what's in my cup.
It looks like you're drinking iced coffee with half and half.
Now, you taught me how to special order this, and I got to tell you, I forgot the lingo. This is an iced venti latte with 3 raw sugars. And,
okay.
I'd like to say that we're drinking coffee tonight because Jodi's on the podcast, but I drink coffee all the time anyway.
Right.
This may or may not have some of that brown wine from Tennessee mixed in. Whoo! Let me tell you. I put Jack Daniels in this, and let me tell you, it is amazing.
I'm sure it is because it matches, the espresso is different. I'm not a whiskey drinker. I'm not a Jack Daniels drinker, but it has a sweet profile to it, correct?
Yes, it does.
So when you pair it with espresso, which is different on the roast curve than your Guatemalan Antigua, those oils similar, and I've used this analogy with you before, with onions versus caramelized onions versus sauteed onions, they're different. So you get the caramelized oils on the outside of that espresso bean and it makes it sweet.
Hey, Ed, did you know this? Now, we're sitting here talking to Jodi, my friend here, and Jodi's very proper, and, you know, Jodi always does the right things. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't use clear glasses for your espresso to drip into, she will cuss at you.
Yes, I will.
I'm not a big espresso guy myself. I have my coffee in the morning. The only time I do espresso is if somebody happens to be in town or it's a special thing and we go out and they want to have espresso. And best I can tell you is like when Vinny comes into town, he's like, take me over to that one place, and we end up going to Buddy Brew. So we get it in tiny cups. That was the first place I ever smelled coffee roasting, and I thought I was crazy because it smelled like bread baking.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah,
it doesn't smell like coffee brewing because it's roasting, it's cooking it.
Yeah. And I remember being in there when the original one of Buddy Brew first opened, and it was before they had like 8 locations. I had nothing to do over the summer, so I used to go in there, and it was like $2 for a bottomless cup. So I'd sit there all morning, shoot the shit, keep drinking coffee. But one day when Dave the owner was roasting it, I remember going, holy mackerel, like it smells like bread. And he explained it to me, and there was something, I don't know if it was true of all roasting, but he said you have to listen closely for the second crack.
Yep.
And
I've heard that.
I thought, well, great part of town because a lot of people do crack, but sure enough, it's like somewhere around 400 degrees. It was like that's where you pull it, you turn it off and get it out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
okay.
But if you're not an espresso fan, but you're a coffee drinker and you know that you like African coffees, you've just never had anybody teach you how to drink espresso.
Probably not.
To pull that flavor out. Yeah.
So Jodi, you have a background with my favorite coffee, Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my favorite coffee because, well, it might not be anymore because they don't carry the Guatemala Antigua.
Oh.
But you have a background with them. You were responsible here in Tampa for, I think, 7 outlets of the Starbucks name. And
I had 3 in Tampa, but I did coffee education for the entire state of Florida when I still worked for Starbucks.
And that had to be very unique, being at the top of the food chain, if you will. You know, some like it, some hate it, you know, whatever. You know, you're going to have the Starbucks dunk debate all day long. Dunkin' Donuts sucks. I'm going to get a lot of shit for that, but I hate Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Why do I hate Dunkin' Donuts coffee?
The service and the inconsistency in the product.
About right.
She went to service first. That was harsh. That was harsh.
Hey, man, it's the VooDoo podcast. There needs to be truth in here. At least your version of it.
Well, you know what? When I was 20-something years old, and I was first drinking coffee, there was nothing better than a large, sweet and creamy coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. But you know, it's just at some point you got to stop drinking that Mexican Coke, right, Ed? I mean, it's good once in a while just for nostalgia's sake, but then you move back onto the straight Jack. I mean, let's be real. So, working for the big dog, what was that like? How was it? What was the corporate structure? I mean, you read a lot about their philosophies and how they got started and the grassroots campaigns and how they grew and all this cool shit. But at the end of the day, they're about money like everybody else. You know, I'm not going to ask you to, oh, shit, we're remodeling VooDoo Studios. My table just went crazy. I'm not asking you to talk bad about them, but you know, I'm very interested, and I ask you little sly questions all the time. What was it like? I mean, you were with them on the kind of when they were still peaking out. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was that like?
Well, when I was with Starbucks, we had 3 stores in Tampa, if you can imagine. 3.
Wow.
I'm thinking now, and I'm thinking there's 3 that I could choose from right now to go to within proximity.
So it was very, very cultural. And I say that because it was very, we were a team, we were, you know, building a brand, we were building basically on Howard's, you know, on his philosophies and culture.
You're dropping the name Howard.
I am.
Who's Howard?
Howard Schultz.
Howard Schultz, the guy.
The guy.
The guy.
The guy. It was a different time back then than what it is now. I know that I still have a lot of colleagues and some friends that still work for Starbucks, and there is a lot of that culture that's still ingrained. You just have to find it. You know, it's just, I mean, it's hard to find.
At some point, I don't want to say you get too big, but it gets too big to manage. And it's tough.
Yeah. I would say that that's true. When I left for personal reasons. I had a lot going on in my family. When I left Starbucks, if it would have been my choice, I would have stayed, but I would have never been able to do what I needed to do for my family, my kids, had I stayed. So I went down a different road.
Road you were meant to go down.
And that's what I tell myself all the time. That's where I was meant to be, because had I stayed, my life could have been very different. And maybe not in a good way, just because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work running stores. It's a lot of work, you know, teaching culture, not just teaching it, but living it. Right. So it's
live the brand.
Right. And so for me, it was just time for me to just take a step back. And, you know, I took about an 8-week sabbatical, the first time in my entire life I hadn't worked ever. So, wow. I mean, but it was a necessary sabbatical. I had to, you know, really dig down deep and take care of my kids. So the road that I went down was much better for myself and the family. So it was, and I learned so much going down that road, you know, heading, you know, into the private sector and the wholesale area and the broadband spectrum that, you know, that Joffrey's, you know, brought into my world. I learned so much more that I wouldn't have learned had I stayed.
So since you brought up Joffrey's, you know, I didn't know if we wanted to go down the road. That's when we met. You were with Joffrey's, and I think Joffrey's was doing some coffee for Cheney, and Cheney's coffee sucked. And so we were trying to find something that I'd like and be happy with. And so you and I connected, and we met up at Joffrey's, and you toured me the plant, and that's where we went through the cupping. And that guy's cowboy boots are ingrained in my brain. CEO, head roaster, whoever he was, who had his boots up on the desk, just a cool dude.
Yeah.
And a lot of great things were happening there. And that was a company that was around for a while, but it was really starting to boom, if I remember right.
Yes.
We got into, I say we like I'm part of them. Got into they were one of the few storefronts that had their own branded name out there, not just coffee. That Joffrey coffee. I mean, those are big accomplishments. And it just started booming. Do you still talk to any of those folks today? Do you know what's going on with Joffrey's?
I have, when I worked for Joffrey's, part of my role was very big. It was just, my job description could fill a page. But we were a small company, and part of my role was to participate in what you talked about with Disney. You know, they had been with Disney for a while in their little kiosks and actually serving espresso in a lot of restaurants that they were still unknown in. So we were in the middle of negotiations to become more branded in the parks, not just on the menu, but with cup logos on the kiosks, you know. And so I helped participate in some of those conversations. And part of my thing there was recipe development for what Disney calls Imagineering. So if you're a kiosk in Epcot and you're outside of, and I don't know where their kiosks are anymore. I haven't been with Joffrey's in 10 years. So, you know, so you would, what they would have to do is come up with a recipe that was themed based on where they were located. So the name, the picture, the recipe, it could be the same drink throughout the park, but it would have to be themed to where they were located. So I helped with a lot of that. I mean, there was just, my job spectrum was so huge that I just learned so much from all of that.
Wasn't one of the dudes named Andy?
Yes, Andy Marsano was the VP of sales. He is no longer with the company. I believe he's retired now. I hear from him occasionally. He's still in Florida. Chris DeMezzo is the president, I believe now. So I speak with him occasionally as well. I try to stay in touch with everybody, you know, even if it's like 6 months, you know, an occasional, hey, you know, hey, how you doing? Thinking about you, you know, what's going on? How's the family type, you know, scenario.
You know, most people do that because they're thinking about the connections and I'm coming back to the area and you never know when you're going to need these people. I don't believe that with you.
No.
That you're sincerely connected to these people and you think about them, you're like, shit, I got to reach out.
Yeah, because when you see things or hear things, it invokes a memory, and that's part of the coffee industry, is it's all a culture. So when you share coffee with someone, that's what it's, you know, the whole basis of the culture is coffee brings people together. Everybody has a cup of coffee, everybody. And if they don't have a cup of coffee, they have a cup of tea, which invokes, you know, sitting around a table, connecting with each other. And that's, you know, I walk down the streets all the time, you know, or I walk through the airport, or I walk, you know, and see a food cart and I think of certain people. All those memories get invoked. And if you have connections with those people, then that's really what the coffee culture is all about.
And you know, you're a great champion for that culture, and you live that life. And I thank you for educating me as well as you have, even though it's just so easier for me to pick up the phone and call you and go, hey, Jodi, hook me up. You know, I don't want to, you know, you've given us time and you're out there in Portland, and we're going to come to that in a minute. But, you know, I want to make sure that all my shit in that I got to talk to Jodi about. You have been cooking like a son of a gun lately.
Yes, I have.
My wife says, hey, I think your friend Jodi ordered like a lot of product. I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah, go look at the system. And I'm like, holy shit, Jodi could have just called me up and I would have just shipped the shit out to her. A whole bunch of shit comes in. And then all of a sudden, you're not making one thing. I'm like seeing pictures of like, who the hell are you feeding? The whole town out there? I mean.
Well, before COVID-19, you know, cooking is a passion for me. And you know that I'm away from my family, and typically Sunday dinner was our tradition in our house, and I would feed anywhere from 10 to 17 people every Sunday night for dinner. So my biggest issue is I cannot figure out how to cook small. So my staff, my neighbors, the little girl downstairs calls me the muffin lady. I mean,
that's awesome.
And you know, the string bean, and I refer to my son as the string bean because he's tall and lanky and could out eat all of us and still not gain a pound, certainly said to me probably, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months ago, he goes, Mom, you're cooking way too much. You need to stop. Now, so it's just my passion and I find a home for it. It used to be really easy because I would take it all to work and feed the baristas and, you know, the guys in the warehouse and all of that, but they're all on furlough right now. So I'm feeding neighbors
and you know, we have a couple you know, VooDoo ambassadors out there. I'm like, shit, Jodi's cooking more than the damn VooDoo ambassadors. We're part of the team. It's like, damn. So what's your favorite dish you've cooked with VooDoo?
Wow. I use it almost, I would say 4 nights out of 7 I'm cooking with.
And the other 3 days she's eating out of like McDonald's. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that'll never happen.
So favorite of them all?
Right now, I love the magic, but my favorite has to be dirt, and you know why?
Because it's laced with coffee.
It's laced with coffee. I use it on sprouts. I use it.
Trivia question here, Jodi. What was the first coffee ever used in the making of dirt?
Espresso.
Actually, no.
No.
Starbucks Colombian coffee.
Oh, okay.
Colombian rub. But then the shit just got too expensive, so now we use something different, and the recipe will stay secret. But now it's called dirt. So, but
yeah, I love it. I use it on Brussels sprouts. I use it on steak.
Brussels sprouts,
yes.
Steak. Just good stuff. I love watching the pictures. Have you had it on green beans?
Not done green beans.
Ready for the most easiest one? Like right now, you're sitting. Yeah. Now, it's like what, like 5 o'clock there or some shit like that.
It's 6:45, so almost 7. 3 hours. Yeah.
So when the podcast ends and you're sitting there going, all right, what am I gonna do now? Oh, AGT's on. Let me get some microwave popcorn, dump some dirt on that shit.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic.
Not that I watch AGT. All right. There's a lot of things I want to ask you about, and by all means, you don't have to answer, especially the climate that we're in today. This world's fucked up. But first, let's talk about Host Marriott. Is that fair game?
Mm-hmm.
So with Host Marriott, and you were in charge of all the Starbucks at Host Marriott. How many is that?
In Tampa, I had 7.
See, I said 7 at the beginning, and you said no, 3. So I was
no, but to be fair, we were talking about my Starbucks days, not my Host days. They're different.
At Host, you were responsible for the Starbucks brand.
Correct.
And so you had 7 Starbucks there, and then you were just killing it, kicking ass, taking names, your numbers in tow, your numbers in line, and there's trouble at an airport in Portland. Not trouble, oh my God, but trouble like in the hospitality world. They said, Jodi, you got to fix it. So you start flying out and giving some, almost like doing consulting for your own company you work for. Next thing you know, here you are in Portland, and you're out there and you're gone, and you're running the show out there in Portland. How is that?
Well, it's a different, obviously running the show is a little different than just having one brand to focus on, because, you have to give attention to everything, right? Purchasing, P&Ls, not that you weren't responsible for P&Ls for just Starbucks, but certainly it's a bigger, ball of wax.
Is it managing a P&L or managing the people who manage the P&L?
It's managing the people that manage the P&L.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'll be honest, when this opportunity was presented to me, I thought, no problem, I can do it. I was ready to, to take on that additional responsibility. It was time for me to make a change. And I felt pretty strongly that, Host has been very good to me. My VP that offered me the position out here has been very good to me over the years. And so, I'm a person of, loyalty, I guess is a good word, culture and loyalty, and where that's cultivated on my behalf, I like to cultivate it on others' behalves. So, it was an opportunity I really needed to take. The kids, my children were out of high school. My grandchildren are very young. So I felt like
almost non-existent because you're not that old.
Well, so I felt pretty strongly that the timing was like perfect because the grandkids, yes, I could talk to them on Zoom or Facebook or whatever, and my kids can talk to me all the time. They had gotten through school. All of them are working, you know, doing relatively well.
They're all still here in Tampa?
Chris, our friend Chris is here with me. I was here about 6 or 7 months, and I put him on a plane and said, come on, you need to be out here. You need to see some of this foodie experience out here in Portland because it would be good for his development because he's also in the industry.
Probably equally as good for you.
Probably so. I would probably be very, very much not a happy mom, especially now.
So yeah, and that's where I want to go next if we're allowed to.
Sure.
So you're out there. You're running the airport at Portland. What's the size of the airport compared to TIA?
It's pretty equivalent, actually. I mean, it doesn't have as many. It only has. Well, I shouldn't say that. It does have equal amount of. It's just set up differently. Mm-hmm. They share demographics as far as TSA and all that stuff like that. So it's probably equivalent to Tampa.
And
their business. What's that?
Air traffic wise as well, as far as the lights and everything.
Mm-hmm. Different times of year. You know, I mean, obviously spring break in Tampa is huge. Right. Summer in Portland is huge. Summer, you know, is the spring break, so it's a little bit different based on the time of year.
I think I read like the average summer temperature is 68. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does. Except for the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had like one day we would have 60-degree temperature, and the next day it would be 85.
Yeah, I would love for 85. You know, I think today, Ed, we won't say what we normally. It was hot as fuck.
Well, there's no air conditioning in my apartment. They don't put air conditionings in apartments in Washington and Oregon. So when it hits 85, what's that?
Do they know what year it is?
Well, apparently not. So,
is that like apartments or Jodi's apartment? Did they like, oh, here she is. It's the Florida chick. We can give her that one apartment we got.
No, it's pretty standard. There's lots of, you know, if you go on and look for apartments and houses here in the area, it's pretty standard that, you know, that AC is not a normal thing in this area. Oh, no. And so I just,
dude, this is like this show, the one that we say we don't watch because we don't watch 90 Day Fiance, like Rose's house in the Philippines. You know, it was or the other poor guy in Nigeria. What the hell?
Well, so when Chris and I moved into the apartment that we're in right now, I had rented a small 1-bedroom cottage the first 6 months that I was here that had central air and heating. And I was living in a little town called Washougal, Washington. Beautiful little town, old school, right on the Columbia River. Is beautiful. But when Chris came out, I couldn't stay in a 1-bedroom cottage anymore. So I found this place. We're living in Vancouver, Washington. Our first week in this apartment last July, we had high temperatures of 95 degrees.
Man,
no air conditioning. So
2 fans on me, an AC blowing, and I'm still sweating like I got the COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. So
yeah, it was pretty nuts.
So Jodi, I'm real interested in the culture out there in Portland. You know, we see things here and we see protests downtown, but we hear some crazy stuff about the left coast out there. What's it like?
It's a very different demographic out here. Seattle, Portland. I have experienced things with staff that I've never experienced before. And certainly the last 3 or 4 months of my life have been very, very interesting, to say the least. It's a very liberal area. Portland specifically. So if we talk about Portland Airport, the people that work at the Portland Airport, as far as like the folks that manage it, the people that work for the airlines, they're wonderful people. There's no question that that's the case. But when you talk about our industry and what we have to pull as far as people are concerned and train and develop, and I have never, in all the years I've been doing this, ever experienced a demographic like here. It's very challenging. There's a huge liberal community here that just think that, well, I can stand here on my cell phone and talk to customers while they're at the register. And I'm like, no, you can't. No. It's worse than high school. It's worse than high school. I don't understand how, you go to apply for a customer service position and think that you can do the things that you're doing and expect me not to discipline or take action or correct you for those things. It's just a whole different world out here. And I thought, wow, it can't be that hard. I can teach people how to make a latte. I can do that. No problem. Just a different kind of people out here.
Wow.
I mean, and as far as like all the protesting and all that stuff is concerned, Chris and I live in Vancouver, Washington. So I am 13 minutes from front door to parking spot at the airport because I go over the bridge. Housing in Portland is pretty expensive. So I chose to live over the bridge because it was much more affordable. I've seen a few protests at the airport, but I've really steered clear basically of downtown Portland. It's shut down right now. The poor business owners in that area, in our current state.
Is the whole city on lockdown? Or I don't want to say lockdown, on quarantine, whatever we're fucking calling it.
We didn't go into phase 1. Multnomah County, which is where the airport's located right in Portland, did not go into phase 1 reopening until about 3 weeks ago. So we were one of the last ones to come out of quarantine as far as that's concerned. And what's that?
Are you at 50% yet? Do you know?
No.
You're still.
Oregon has put a stop on any further openings. We are only in phase 2 in the rest of the state.
Just come back home because, we're having parties, we're having the convention, we're having sporting events, we're inviting other teams to come practice. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I just, I can't wait.
It's going to be nice to have you back home.
I will be very happy about that.
You ready to take part in some pointless, nonsensical shit that we do on the podcast?
Absolutely.
Let's ask my friend Stanley 5 questions about herself that will give us a little more insight, but mean absolutely not a goddamn thing.
Okay.
That's right. What's your favorite color?
Probably blue.
Probably blue. Now, the next ones are tricky. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Oh, dude, we're batting 1,000, man. Except for that one. How do you eat your steak?
Rare.
Look at that, Eddie C.
More.
Somebody say Pepsi.
Is there any other way? Is there any other way?
Oh, we had somebody say Pepsi and Midwell, and we had to exit them out of the building.
Oh, yeah. Bell, book, and candle. Excommunicated.
If you could have dinner with any one person, living or dead, who would that be?
Probably my dad.
Very cool, very cool. This one just came out on our Facebook the other day, and this is something that's been intriguing me lately. What's your favorite foodie movie?
And I think I answered this on Facebook the other night. I have discovered something new during this quarantine, and it's really not a movie. It's something that I stumbled upon on YouTube, and it's called Depression Cooking by Clara. And she probably passed away, I'm going to say probably about 5 or 6 years ago, but her son did YouTube videos of her with all of her favorite recipes that she cooked in the Depression as a teenager. And she's remarkable.
I thought you were going to tell me it's this depressed woman on YouTube.
No. No, she's remarkable. The story, she really, yes, you would enjoy it because it's basic, it's family, it's culture, it's sit around the table and cracking walnuts and almonds and teaching her granddaughters on how to make fig cookies. It's fantastic. It's absolutely phenomenal.
That sounds like something I would watch. I got to be honest, I skimmed through those, and I really am on this trek to create a list of foodie movies. And depression cooking, I'm like, why do I want to watch some fucking sad sap? I'm going to be sitting there, no pity for self-inflicted pain. Why am I watching this shit?
No, you would enjoy it. I mean, it's not a movie. But if we're going to talk a movie, I really enjoyed Julie and Julia.
That was a good.
It's a chick flick. It's a chick flick.
Not something not something I'd go, hey, let's go see that. But I watched it and it was good. So we'll have to have you back on when we do the movie podcast in 2 weeks. Are you down? Oh shit.
I'm down.
Shit, that means we got to do it at like fucking midnight and shit.
You can do it whatever time you want. I'll do it from the office. I'll do it from here. It doesn't matter.
We're moving back to normal time because I'm old, Jodi Stanley. All right. Did I ask all the fucking questions? Oh, I did. I changed the last one because of the.
You're asking me?
I was asking Ed, talking out loud. You know, I do that sometimes.
I think you asked them all as long as you did the last one.
Because the assholes, you know. You know, it is what it is. I got to ask this question. Have you guys seen this conspiracy theory about Wayfair?
No, I've not.
So, like, if you go on, well, I don't know if you knew this. I'm addicted to TikTok.
No.
My daughter sends me shit. But if you go on YouTube and you type in Wayfair conspiracy and shit like this, they got these items like this chest. It's like what I'd call a bureau or a wardrobe or some shit like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing special, and it's like $10,000. And it says chest, and it's like the Chelsea, you know, kind of like IKEA puts those names on their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Got the description, and it costs $10,000. Ironically, within the past 3 months, there's been this chick that's gone missing by the name of Chelsea.
Oh.
And this has happened numerous times, and they're like messed up names, you know, like we read on our rosters at school, you know, shit that you can't make up, like Sanaya, or, you know, one of these weird Samani, one of these names that we see, and that's the name of the chest, and it's like $14,000. And then they got a chick who, within the past 3 months, has been missing by that name. And then they've got these pillows with astrological signs on it. And it's like, again, ridiculous amount of money.
Wow.
And you search it back to a kid that's been missing. And it's like super duper crazy.
Sounds pretty crazy.
Well, you got to watch it. It's just, it's that interesting, fun shit. And it'll give us something to talk about on the movie podcast. Because it's like some whacked out shit. I saw another one. This lady, Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't know her name. Epstein's, you know, handler.
Oh, his partner in crime.
So there's a picture on, I don't know, YouTube, I don't know, of her with John Bonet Ramsey. How fucked up is that?
Wow.
How fucked up is that?
That's pretty screwed up.
So it's like Angelina's telling me this. I'm like, fuck, no way, no way. And, you know, like the kids are, you know, I got to prove you wrong, Pop. And she goes like this, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy.
Yes.
Check that one out. That one will spin your mind, too. It's pretty trippy stuff. Pretty trippy.
Well, Chris has been asking me to watch Pizzagate, and I don't have any idea what that's about, but
I think that has to do, and I could be wrong. I wasn't privy to that one, but I think that's Epstein and his flight records and all that going to the private island, and that's where I made the comment earlier. You know, I may or may not have made a comment about Tom Hanks being on that list. No, just hype. I don't know any of this for fact. I'm speaking, as Bubba the Love Sponge would say, I'm speaking in hyperbole. You know.
Right.
All right, Jodi, are you ready for the pièce de résistance here, the pointless pop culture trivia?
Certainly.
I know you listen to the podcast. You've heard how stupid and inane these questions are, all right?
I wouldn't call them stupid and inane. I would call them creative and fun.
Well, today I wanted, again, it's all this food and movie and TV. And I think it's because I've seen like everything on Netflix twice. Can you wait to come home and see Carol Baskins now that you've seen The Tiger King?
I can wait to see Carol Baskins. I can't wait to come home, but I can wait to see Carol Baskins.
I say we go hide in the bushes and just throw rocks at her as she rides her bike to work. Not really.
There you go.
Verbally. So today's trivia, I actually am stealing from Knowledge Stew because I wanted food in movie and TVs to be our trivia tonight. So there's only 2 rules. No cheating, and you must have a drink. We already saw your cocktail. In the TV, I mean, you're playing against Ed, so Ed knows the rules, so I'm kind of just jumping right in. If you watch Pointless Pop Culture Trivia, you know, since we changed the times, our trivia teams were like, dude, man, that's like 11 o'clock. So,
feel free to invite me at an earlier East Coast time.
So
I promise I won't be offended.
Well, that's good. Because I'm old. So if you know the answer, all you do is shout out your name. And because there's only 3 of us, we're going to go on the honor system. And Ed and the Gator Claw still have final say because I got to read, and that's hard for me. In the TV show MASH, what was Radar O'Reilly's favorite drink?
Grape knee-high.
Ooh, you got to yell Jodi.
Jodi, grape knee-high.
You are correct. Ed, did you not know that?
I never watched MASH, man. I mean,
What?
No, listen, I'll go ahead and tell you my age. I graduated in 1985. Do the math, but I was a year early. When I was a little kid, MASH would come on. I was gone. Okay, I went to my room and I put on the stereo. That's why I'm so fucked up, because I would have rather listened to Black Sabbath and Bad Company, Led Zeppelin and Kiss, even disco, than watch the shit that was on TV at that time, including MASH. Just, it's a great show, but at the time it came out, I was too young to appreciate it.
I unfortunately had to suffer through it because Grandma lived in my house.
Oh, did she make you watch?
Are you calling me old?
No. You just watched the show. That doesn't make you old. I don't know. She was reminiscing. I don't know. All right, question number 2. Moving on, so I don't get in trouble. Marty McFly in Back to the Future orders what kind of drink first at Lou's Cafe in 1955? If nobody knows, I'll give multiple guesses. Coke, Tab, Pepsi, or tea?
Jodi,
what is it?
Tab.
It is Tab. Marty McFly orders a Tab, and Lou says, Tab, I can't give you a Tab unless you order something first. And we're losing 2 to nothing here. Follow-up question. What was Marty's follow-up drink order?
Mm-mm.
No
Pepsi,
idea.
New Coke, Pepsi Free, or coffee?
Ed,
Ed, what is it?
I'm going to guess Pepsi.
Oh, it was Pepsi Free. He says, okay, give me a Pepsi Free. And Lou says, I'll give you a Pepsi, but you're going to pay for it. Boom.
Oh, my God.
Question number 4. Garfield's favorite food is what?
Jodi,
Ooh,
lasagna.
beat you, Jodi. I think Jodi beat you, Ed. What is it?
Lasagna.
It is lasagna.
Wow.
I don't know anything about Garfield.
That much I do.
Ed, you're getting your ass kicked. Dude, do you remember the PSA I did about how smart Ed was and I'm dumbass? And
You better rescind that shit. You better disown it. Soon.
Extraterrestrial could not get enough of what?
Oh, got Ed.
Jodi.
What is it, Ed?
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces is correct. He originally wanted M&M's, but Mars Company thought it wouldn't do well. Hershey's, the makers of Reese's Pieces, didn't even have to pay to have the candy in the movie.
Wow.
Wow.
Damn.
All right, so what do we got? 3-1 or 2-1?
3-1.
Okay, I don't even know what question this is anymore because, I'm drinking brown coffee and brown wine. In Coming to America, what was the name of the fast food restaurant where Eddie Murphy works? Ed, what is it?
McDowell's.
McDowell's. He's making a comeback.
Home of the Big Mick.
And soon I'll be on fries. And that's where the big bucks start.
Yep.
Louis Anderson.
Oh, that was awesome. Oh, no. I guess this is question number 6 or 7 because it says we're 60% of the way done. I don't know. But we're tied. Am I correct?
No, she got me 3-2.
3-2. Jodi, you got to get it. On Seinfeld, Kramer offered Jerry what candy before it inadvertently shot into the air and landed in the chest cavity of a patient during surgery they were watching?
I have no idea.
I know that one.
Is the answer Tic Tac, M&M, Lifesaver, or Junior Mint?
I'm going to say Tic Tac.
Jodi says Tic Tac. You are incorrect. The correct answer is Junior Mint.
Oh.
Jerry just thought they were the coolest thing, and they're watching a surgery for some reason. Jerry takes them out and pops it up, and it goes and it lands inside the guy's chest cavity.
Only on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. In what movie were these famous orders made? Some dry white toast, please. Bring me 4 fried chickens and a Coke.
Ed,
what is it?
that's Blues Brothers.
That is the Blues Brothers. Who played the waitress?
Was it Aretha Franklin?
I was going to say Aretha Franklin played the waitress, right? Yeah.
Are we tied up?
I think we're tied up.
I think we're tied up.
Yeah, 3-3.
All right. I think we may or may not have 2 questions left. Follow-up question. John Candy made a famous order at the end of the movie while waiting to catch Jake and Elwood at the end of the concert. What did he order 3 of?
Don't remember.
Is the correct
I
answer
don't either.
martinis with vermouth, shots of Jack Daniels, orange whip, or sarsaparilla?
I want to say Orange Whip.
Orange whip. Orange whip is the correct answer. Orange whip. Rum, vodka, orange juice, and cream. But this wasn't the drink Candy was referring to. A father of the set designer on the film was vice president of the Orange Whip Corporation, a beverage company that made a carbonated orange-flavored soda. He asked if it could be mentioned in the movie.
Huh? Never knew that.
I did not either. Oh, for some reason I got Ed on this one. Ed's up by 1. Jodi, you got to get this.
Okay.
Ed, this is about a movie I've never seen. Do you know what movie I'm going to ask you about?
No, because there's a few you haven't seen.
I haven't seen. Like you quoted Godfather today for a food movie. How is that a food movie? I've never seen.
Really?
That was Goodfellas.
Oh, Goodfellas. I may have seen that. All right, here's one I have not seen. Right before the famous food fight scene in Animal House, John delivers this line after being called a pig. See if you can guess what I am now. He then smacks both sides of his face and blows out food. I'm a zit. Get it? What does he put in his mouth?
Ed.
It
was mashed potatoes.
Potatoes it is. Guess what, Jodi Stanley? What's the score?
4-3 or 5. It's 5-3.
Oh, Jodi Stanley, you don't even get to go to the final round. But we'll give it to you anyway. Jodi Stanley, for your money, what's the best sauce or seasoning on the market today?
Southern Gold.
Jodi Stanley, that is a VooDoo Chef product. You win.
Yeah, she wins.
To quote my nephew, you win the chance to be entered into a prize drawing for the opportunity to get selected again for something else that we don't know what it is. Jodi, I can't tell you how we appreciate having you on the podcast. I cannot wait till you come home. We'll reconnect. We'll get you back out there at the school doing what we do, helping kids, moving them, educating them on coffee, but most importantly, educating them on life and letting them know what's going on. You need to be safe out there in Portland and
absolutely
that stuff and putting it on air. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Jodi.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jodi.
Okay.
And there you have it, Voodies, another episode of the VooDoo Chef podcast. Let's give a big shout out to everyone involved with VooDoo Chef and all things VooDoo, starting with Woostoff Knives, the official knife of the VooDoo Chef. And jamming up and down the streets of all Ybor City and Tampa Bay, Ragged Old Souls. Thanks for letting me jam with you guys. And when those amps are cranking, the turntables are definitely spinning thanks to the official DJ of the VooDoo Chef, DJ Don Pablo. Check him out spinning all across town, most importantly, at all VooDoo Chef events. Speaking of events, getting ready for yours? Check out VooDoo Chef Catering, custom-created events for every shape and size. Log on to VooDooChefCatering.com to get your information today. A great big shout out to all my Voodies that are in the VooDoo crew. Thank you for your support. And of course, we could not do what we do in the crew without all of our crew sponsors. First Watch, Chef Shane Shibley, thank you for believing in our mission. And of course, we can't forget VooDoo Mortgage. For all your mortgage needs, check them out at VooDooMortgage.com. Alessi Bakery, a Tampa staple. Drop in and check them out today. And our newest sponsor, Twisted South Food Truck. Chef Adam Jessup, thank you for what you do. And of course, all things VooDoo are in support of the VooDoo Chef Foundation, providing culinary scholarship and feeding those in need. To find out more information or make a donation yourself, log on to VooDooChefFoundation.com today.